Do not forget to like the video. Share your thoughts in comments. And subscribe to stay updates with our latest stories. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the sprawling estate of billionaire Alexander Sterling, but inside the mansion, chaos reigned. His 6-year-old twins, Emma and Ethan, had just driven away their 4th nanny in as many months. The latest one had quit in tears after Ethan accidentally released her pet parrot into the mansion's grand foyer, where it now perched on a chandelier, squawking indignantly. Alexander pinched the bridge of his nose, his sharp blue eyes weary. "We need someone who can handle them," he muttered to his assistant, who was already scrolling through applications. Someone unshakable. Little did he know, the woman about to walk into their lives would unravel a secret buried deep in his past. The doorbell rang at precisely 10 a.m. When Alexander opened the door, his breath caught. Standing before him was a woman with warm brown eyes and a quiet strength in her posture. She wore a simple blouse and slacks, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. Something about her felt familiar. "Mr. Sterling?" "I'm Clara Bennett," she said, her voice steady but soft. "I'm here about the nanny position." Alexander studied her. There was no flicker of recognition in her gaze, but his chest tightened inexplicably. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. The interview went smoothly, too smoothly. Clara had glowing references, years of experience, and, most importantly, a no-nonsense approach to discipline. When Alexander mentioned the twins' challenging behavior, she only smiled. "I've handled worse." He hired her on the spot. The first week was a revelation. Clara didn't just manage the twins, she understood them. She knew Ethan hated the crusts on his sandwiches before he even said so. She braided Emma's hair exactly the way she liked, without being asked. And when the twins threw tantrums, Clara didn't yell. She knelt to their level, spoke softly, and somehow, they listened. Alexander watched from the doorway one evening as Clara read them a bedtime story. The way she tucked them in, the way her fingers lingered on their cheeks, it wasn't just affection. It was longing. A knot formed in his stomach. Then came the nightmares. Emma woke up screaming one night, her small body trembling. Alexander rushed in, but Clara was already there, holding her close, whispering words in Spanish, words Alexander didn't understand, but Emma did. The little girl calmed instantly, clinging to Clara like she was the only anchor in the storm. That was the first crack in the facade. The second came when Alexander found an old photo album in the attic. Flipping through it, he froze. There, in a faded picture from a charity gala 6 years ago, was a younger version of himself, standing beside a woman with warm brown eyes and a shy smile. Clara**. But that was impossible. He'd never met her before, had he? His hand shook as he dug deeper, pulling out hospital records, contracts, fragments of a past he'd buried. And then, the truth. 6 years ago, after a devastating breakup, he'd donated to a fertility clinic. Anonymously. A surrogate had carried his children, a woman who signed away all rights. A woman named Clara Bennett. Confrontation came at midnight. He found her in the nursery, watching the twins sleep, tears glistening on her cheeks. "You're their mother," he whispered, voice raw. Clara didn't turn around. "Yes." "Why?" The word tore from him. "Why come back now?" Her shoulders trembled. "Because I couldn't stay away anymore." The pieces fell into place. The way she knew the twins' habits. The way they trusted her instantly. She hadn't just been a surrogate, she'd loved them from the beginning. Alexander's world tilted. "You signed away your rights." "I was young. Broke. I thought it was the only way to give them a better life." She finally faced him, her eyes blazing with unshed tears. "But I regretted it the moment they were born." A silence stretched between them, heavy with grief and betrayal. Then, a small voice. "Mommy?" Emma stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Clara's breath hitched. Alexander's heart shattered. The secret was out. And nothing would ever be the same. Emma's sleepy voice hung in the air like a fragile thread, pulling at the tension between Clara and Alexander. The little girl stared at Clara, her big blue eyes, so much like her father's, filled with innocent confusion. Clara's breath caught. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but now that it was here, she was paralyzed. Alexander's jaw tightened. He didn't know what to say, how to explain to his daughter that the woman tucking her in at night was the mother she had never known. Ethan, always the more perceptive of the two, padded into the room behind his sister, rubbing his eyes. "Why are you crying?" he asked Clara, his small voice laced with concern. Clara wiped her cheeks quickly, forcing a smile. "I'm not crying, sweetheart. Just tired." But Emma wasn't fooled. She reached out, touching Clara's face with tiny fingers. "You are crying." Then, with the brutal honesty of a child, she asked, "Are you our mommy?" Alexander stiffened. Clara's heart hammered in her chest. The silence stretched too long. Ethan's eyes darted between them, sensing the shift. "Is she?" he asked his father. Alexander exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. He didn't want to lie. But the truth would change everything. Clara couldn't bear it anymore. She knelt before the twins, her voice trembling. I am your mother." Emma gasped. Ethan's eyes widened. Alexander closed his eyes, bracing for the fallout. But then, Emma threw her arms around Clara's neck. Clara froze, stunned, before wrapping the little girl in a fierce embrace. Ethan hesitated only a second before joining them, burying his face in Clara's shoulder. Alexander watched, his chest aching. He had expected anger, confusion, not this. Not instant acceptance. Emma pulled back, grinning. "I knew you loved us extra much." Clara laughed through her tears. "I do. So much." Ethan frowned. "Then why did you go away?" The question cut deep. Clara glanced at Alexander, silently pleading for help. He sighed and crouched beside them. "It's complicated. But she's here now." Emma beamed. "So she's staying forever?" Alexander hesitated. He had hired Clara as a nanny, not knowing she was the twins' birth mother. Now, everything was different. Clara searched his face, waiting for his answer. He owed her the truth, too. Later, after the twins were settled back in bed, though they insisted Clara stay until they fell asleep, Alexander found Clara in the kitchen, staring blankly at a cup of tea. "You should have told me," he said quietly. Clara didn't look up. "Would you have hired me if you knew?" "No." She flinched. He exhaled. "But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have had the chance to know them." Clara's fingers tightened around her mug. "I tried to reach out. The agency blocked me. Your lawyers made sure I had no legal claim." Alexander's stomach twisted. He hadn't known. He'd left the details to his attorneys, never imagining the woman who carried his children would want to be part of their lives. "I didn't know," he admitted. Clara finally met his gaze. "Do you believe me now?" He studied her, the raw emotion in her eyes, the way she had loved the twins from the moment she stepped into this house. "Yes." A beat of silence. Then, "What happens now?" Clara whispered. Alexander didn't have an answer. But one thing was certain, the twins adored her. And despite everything, so did he.